What is up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Scary, Strange, and Paranormal True Tales from Sean. Today we have a jam-packed episode because not only are we going to be looking at some of my favorite videos on YouTube. That's right, I talked about this in the past. I did some research and I found some more videos. This is going to be an ongoing thing on this series going into the future. And I looked up some of my favorite all-time classic YouTube videos, and we're going to be watching them together. And we're going to be talking about them. These are just a handful of some of my favorites. I have in the hundreds of creepy videos found on YouTube, right? The dark YouTube, I call it. We're going to be taking a look at them. We're going to be reading a quick viewer comment. And we are going to be hearing two personal stories from me. Two tales. Well, true tales. Little campfire stories, if you will. So, awesome episode mixed with variety, right? Jam-packed episode. You better sit yourself in. Make sure you got the lights turned on because you're going to be creeped out with this one, I think, because I'm creeped out. This is one that, to this day, this one particular story that I'm going to tell, has us creeped out. Now, the one story that I'm going to tell, I actually was not present at the time, but I missed it by a few seconds, literally. But I'm going to tell the story as told by my aunt, my cousin, and my mother. Very creepy. And then I have another folklore, a local New Jersey folklore tale that is very widespread in this area. And my mother has a very in-depth story of it that she taught me through the years. And I remember as a kid growing up, I would ask her all the time, "Hey, Mom, can you please tell the story?" And I would never be able to sleep at night. And every Halloween, we would get together, and either her or my dad would tell the story. And I'm going to share it with you now. I'm going to pass it down to my viewers. And we're going to take a look at some videos on YouTube. Let's actually do that now. Let's jump to YouTube. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the viewer comment first because it's quick. It's a kind of a series review from this viewer and a personal comment. So I'm going to get to that now on my computer. It was a personal message here from Tammy Gamer Girl, longtime viewer. She's very active on my streams. She says, "Sean, I didn't know what to expect when I first heard about this series, but I am totally obsessed. Some episodes I've watched more than twice. I cannot wait for each new episode to show up in my video feed. I absolutely love what you're doing. I am a huge fan of shows like Ghost Hunter and all those paranormal shows on television. I also love horror films and thrillers. Your show has become one of my favorite on your channel and one of my favorite on YouTube." Whoa. That's awesome. Here's a personal tale for you to tell on your channel. When I was young, I believe I grew up in a haunted house. The first day we moved into our new home, I heard weird chanting sounds at night, to the point where I would never leave my room at night. And this was when I got older, I still heard these sounds. Until one day when my parents were at the breakfast table telling me they also started hearing weird stuff. When my father one morning was white as a ghost and I asked him what was the matter, and he told me in private, as to my mother not to hear, I saw a woman down the hallway go into the wall. Whoa. We're not sure about the history of the house as we couldn't find out too much. However, a lot happened through the years. We even saw a dog in our front yard, and when I went up to him, I went through him as if it was an apparition. I'll never forget the horror that went into that house. We always felt a constant dread until we moved out of there. It was terror for real. Worst years of my life. Whoa. Oh my God. A ghost dog that you ran through? That's amazing. Wow, whoa. I mean, how can you explain that? But I would have liked to definitely research that house if I was you. You definitely would have found out a lot. Maybe you were too scared to look into it deeper. Can we agree on that? I think so, because I think you would have found out a lot of stuff you didn't want to know. I think there definitely was murder, suicide, death, something, right? Something. Maybe a graveyard, a burial ground. Something happened with that house. You could have made a horror film. You could have called Steven Spielberg, and you could have started making movies of that house and made big money. But on a serious note, that sounds scary, Tammy. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with me, and thank you for those kind words of the channel. Let's get into some videos and have some fun. I muted the sound on these only because of copyright problems. This is one of my all-time favorites right here. Girl Ghost at Graveyard. Now, mind you, some of these are terrible quality because some of these have been on YouTube for a long time and they were filmed with potatoes. All right, let's see what I do here. Oh. So this guy's filming in a graveyard. Now look, that's a girl right there. See her? She's at a tombstone. You can see the outline of her body and her head. All right, he's filming himself. He's going, oh my God, do you see that? Now watch when he pans back to her. She looks up and she notices him. But you watch her eyes. Now, if I was this dude, okay, legit, man, I'd be shitting my fucking pants. Watch. There she is. She's sitting at the tombstone. Look. Did you see that shit? Fucker ran off, and you know what? I don't blame him. I'd be pissing my pants. That's some fucking scary shit right there, my friend. You heard? I don't like that. Ghost in the graveyard. So this guy is mourning over somebody. And you can see the ghost maybe behind him of whoever he's mourning. See, there he is. He's visiting a gravesite. Look behind him. You know, people were saying it's almost like it's comforting him. Like it's kind of putting its hand on his shoulder. Now it's standing back up, but it looks like it's reaching an arm out, right? This guy looks like a neighbor of mine, Kevin Kent. Now look, you can see, look, he got up. I don't know why somebody would be filming this, but look, see it? I don't know, dude. That's fucked up to me. Okay, this legit right here is one of my most scariest videos on YouTube. I remember years ago when I first found this. Now, people are calling this a zombie. People call this a real-life monster. People call this a demon. People call this a Wendigo. My theory is, and personal belief, that this is what they call a rake. This is a real-life rake, which is a demon. Look at this fucking thing. Now watch. Watch this. Oh, look at that. Legit right there, I'd be shitting my pants. Now I'm going to tell you something. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the scene in Cher. Look, that's even uglier. This reminds me of the scene of the classic scene in Resident Evil 1 when Jill goes up the stairs and she sees the zombie eating the flesh, and then the zombie stops and looks at her. That legit right there. I hope this isn't Chris's blood. That legit reminds me of that. Now, I gotta fit in my boys from Weird, New Jersey, my local legends here in my area. I've talked about this before. I think I did. This is Jungle Habitat. This was a zoo that was in our area years ago that was an attraction. And the zoo had closed down and it's abandoned now. And they let all the animals loose. And for years you had wild kangaroos running around. People had lions in their backyard. Water buffalo. One guy had a hippo in his pool. So some guy went there recently and he filled the abandoned jungle habitat. And this was featured on Weird New Jersey. But this was a place that, like, my parents went to. And they took me as a kid. And they actually had a safari where you would get in your car and you would play a tape and you would drive through. And animals would come up to your car. And Warner Brothers owned it, believe it or not. The company Warner Brothers. And they had, and much like Action Park, they had a lot of lawsuits because animals would, tear at your tires. People would get out of the car and fuck with the animals, and a lot of shit had happened. And this is pretty much all that remains of the abandoned zoo. And again, this isn't far from where I live. And there's a lot of hiking trails now in this area. And I think it's some of these scenes that he caught, you could see some of the old exhibits and some of the old cages where the animals were. And I do have Weird New Jersey issues where they talk about jungle habitat. Here we go. Of course, kids vandalized it and put graffiti on everything through the years. See, they had like probably an otter or something was in there. But it was acres and acres of land. And they had both a zoo part that you would walk through, and they had both a safari part where you would drive through. But definitely some cool stuff. But this was like a big legit thing in our area. Okay? I wanted to share that with you because I got to fit something in from Jersey, right? I got to represent. Okay. Pretty cool, right? I think so. So we watched some of my favorite YouTube videos, which will be an ongoing thing. I think you guys are enjoying that. I talked about some things. I read a viewer comment. Awesome. Now I'm going to tell you some tales. I'm going to tell you some experiences because people love that about the show. I've talked about the black-eyed kids, the black-eyed children, right? Very spooky subject. It's very unknown about these spirits. I've seen them. It was, let's try to see now. 2017, let's just say 2017. I'm not too sure if that's the exact year, but it was around that year. It was either, I want to say if it was before, was I married yet? And did I have my stroke? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It was a couple years ago. It was summer. It was the end of summer. So let's say August, the end of August. My aunt, my uncle, and my cousin was over. They came over because they wanted to swim. It was like 100 degrees out that weekend. So it gets very hot here in Jersey in the summer, especially August. So they came over and they brought their bathing suits and they said, we want to go swimming. So my mom says, okay, I'll go in with you. And I had went in earlier in the day, but then I was doing whatever. So I wasn't outside in the pool with them at this time. I was in the house. And all of a sudden, this is exactly how it happened. They were swimming. They were playing beach ball, whatever, back and forth, you know. We got like the little floating net. They were swimming, and legit, my mother turned white as a ghost, and everybody else was facing the opposite way. My mother was facing the backyard, which is all woods. And my mother looks at my aunt, and she goes, turn around. And she turns around, and she sees two kids coming out of the woods. Now, there were two kids. They were very straggly. They had old clothes on, and they had no feet. They had no shoes. They were barefoot. Now, mind you, these fucking woods out here are rough. We got everything from pine needles to briars to pricker bushes. So I don't know how these, and there's miles and miles of woods in between each house. We're like desolate back here. So I don't know where the fuck these kids came from and why they were walking barefoot, but it looked like a boy and an older boy. Maybe, my mom said maybe one was 8 and one was like 12. So my mother's like, shh, quiet. So they're all like, because the reason why they're all like, scared, we've never had this happen before, and it's pretty locked up around here. We have gates, we have security cameras, and fucking Mario, my Jack Russell, he'll alarm you at the second. So he was flipping out at the house. He was fucking growling, flipping, jumping, and this never happens. Like, this is like this happened one time. Somebody came from the back of the woods. They actually lost their Android phone, and my dad had picked it up on the highway, and it was like flat. It was like no light. There was like nothing left of this phone, and some guy fucking did a Find My like Android, like a LoJack, and actually tracked it to our house. That's the only time somebody ever walked behind our house to our house. So all of a sudden, the kids walk up to the pool, but they're not talking, and they're staring. And my mother said she couldn't even make out their eyes. And my mom said they had all dirt on them. They were smelly. So my mother said, excuse me. She says, what are you doing here? And they just stared at her. And they looked up at her. And my mother says, what are you doing here? She's like, this is private property. She's like, where's your parents? And the both boys looked at each other. And then they looked back at my mother. And then the one little boy in a little voice said, our doggie's gone. And my mother said, I don't see no dog around here. We haven't seen a dog running around. She says, you got to go back to your house. She goes, where do you live? Where's your house back there? And the both boys looked at each other again. And then they stared at my mother. So my mother turns around. And she says to my Aunt Tony, she says, what's up with that? And she goes, I don't know. She goes, where'd they come from? My mother goes, I don't know. They all turn around again to talk with the boys, and they're gone. Gone. Not a trace of them. The black-eyed children. And I don't know where they came from, what their story was. We've looked up in the papers, and we looked up, information to see if any kids died in this area years ago or somewhere around here. We couldn't find anything. But, and then my dad had drove around, and he tried to see if he could find traces of like anything, nothing. Then we talked to a couple neighbors because there's not that many around here in this area, in this, development area. And they said, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know, who has two young boys like that. We don't know where they could be from. Who knows? It's a mystery to this day. Where they came from, where they went, and who they were. The black-eyed children from the dead. I'm going to tell you a great story, an urban legend, campfire tale told best from my mother. The legend of the Hookman. Have you ever heard about this one? Well, a lot of people tell this tale, but the tale originated from New Jersey, not far from where I live. A reservoir, a lake near here. Legend of the Hookman. It's something that would keep me up for hours and hours. Listen, absolutely terrifying. Terrifying. And I'm going to share it with you. You're going to hear the legend of the Hookman told in all its glory. Strap yourself in for this one. This is a strange one. It was a rainy night. It was cold. It was October. It was close to Halloween, I would say. And it was not good. It was windy. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we're all adults here, mostly, right? There were this young couple, whatever, I don't know how old. And there was a horny guy, whatever, trying to impress his girlfriend. Got a new car. Hey, look at me, And they were driving around. He's trying to be fresh with the hands with her. Probably take her off in the woods somewhere and do his thing. Too cheap to get a hotel, you know what I mean? Just pull over, get in the back seat, bitch. You know what I mean by that? Men, what a shame. So, he's driving around. They're messing around. He's drunk. They had just got out of a party with a bunch of loser friends of his. They were all trying to bang their girlfriends, whatever. Mess around, late teens, whatever. High schoolers, college, whatever they were. Low-life bums. So he's driving around, and all of a sudden his car starts making funky sounds. Well, guess what road he was near? Clinton Road. He pulls over. The girlfriend knows where they're at. The girlfriend says, listen, why the fuck you pulling over here? He says, I have to. He says, there's something wrong with the car. It's making clunky sounds and it's smoking. She says, we're fucked. She says, we can't get to, She says, your phone, our phones are dead. I left my phone at my parents' house. Your phone's dead. Where are we going to go? She says, there's no gas station. There's no mechanic. We're screwed. We got to hike. It's the middle of the night. We don't have a flashlight. What are we going to do? He said, listen, bitch. He said, stay in the car. Know your role. I'm going to go get help. However long it takes me. He says, I'm going to hike up this way, and I'm going to hike to the road, the highway, and get to a gas station. And now I'm going to try to see if I can get some help. He says, listen, no matter what happens, don't open the car door to anyone but me. She says, who the heck is going to be over in this road in the middle of the night out here? Except for maybe a raccoon. He says, it don't matter, whatever. Just don't open the door. So she says, okay. So he leaves. About 15 minutes later, she's sitting in the car. She's doing whatever. And she's getting antsy. She's looking. She opens the moon roof. Already, she's not listening. She peeks her head out. She goes back, closes the moon roof, the sun roof, you know? She's looking out the windows. It's getting real foggy now. Now it's getting real froggy. Because the lake is right there, you know? She can't see much. It's misty out. Now about 3 hours passes. Now she's fucking getting worried. Like, dude, what am I gotta get home. I gotta eat. I'm hungry. What's going on here? He's got the keys, the asshole. So she's stranded. She don't want to leave the car. So what does she do? She's like, I guess I gotta stay here till the morning. Another hour passes. Now she's worried. Shit's hitting the fan. So she says, you know what? I'm gonna get some rest. Figure when he gets back, he can wake me up. So she starts falling into a deep sleep. All of a sudden, she hears scratching. She hears scratching on the car. She says, oh shit, it's an animal. Possum, raccoon, wallaby, wombat, something, right? So she says, well, I gotta find out what the heck it is. So she opens the car door, and the boyfriend's there, laying dead with a hook in his neck. Blood coming out of his esophagus, gasping at the mouth. She's screaming, having a nervous breakdown, but he can't tell her what's going on because he's jugulating. So all of a sudden he dies. But basically he's telling her, get back in the car. She gets back in the car. She's shaking like a leaf. She's locking the doors. 2 hours later, it's still dark. She don't know what the fuck to do. She's in terror. She hears knocking. So she says, listen, I'm going to open up the moon roof, the sun roof. What's going to happen? I could quickly, go back in the car, shut the sun roof. I got to go, what's going on? She peeks her head out of the sunroof and the Hookman gets her. Bitch. The next day, the cops did a search for the two of them, and they found them both dead with hooks in their neck. Legend of the Hookman. And, it's a horror story, but they both did have it coming to them. But, this is a story that was told for years. And my parents said they knew people that actually knew the couple or knew of them. Actually, I had an uncle that said he knew somebody that was at the party with them before they took off. Wow. Legend of the Hookman. I wanted to share that with you guys. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Take care, everybody, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye, everyone. Take care.